Pius Kojobaka, and we want to talk about the Cedi because a surge in demand for dollars by companies paying for imports before the end-year holiday season has ended the Ghanaian Cedi's world-beating performance. According to data from Bloomberg, the local currency had weakened 13% so far this quarter, the biggest decline globally.
Hi, great people of Ghana. It's your Nigerian Gulf Pleasure bringing you political news in our channel, Ghanatube. Ghana has actually been giving us serious vibe, all the trendings that has actually been going on, all the news that has actually been going on in Ghana. I know our channel is always here to bring you all this news. Please watch.
More in this report. According to Bloomberg, the Cedi traded 0.1% weaker at 11 Cedis 95 pesos to the dollar. On a year-to-date basis, it gained 23%. Ghana's import-dependent economy shifts in everything from food to machinery. Demand for products from abroad tends to increase toward the end of the year as businesses stock up before the Christmas holiday season. That erased some of the Cedi's 50% gain that was underpinned by a stronger bullion price and saw it ranked as the world's best performer in the 3 months through June. Some analysts say the central bank's inability to supply sufficient foreign currency to the market has contributed to the Cedi's current weakness. While Ghana's gross international reserves soared to a 3-year high of $11.1 billion by the end of June, the central bank won't deploy sufficient funds to fully meet demand for foreign exchange. Joining us via Zoom for a conversation on the back of this is Manager of Macroeconomic Research at Ghana Commercial Bank PLC, Courage Buti. Thank you so much, Courage, for making time to join us here on Business Live. And I'm wondering, was it ever expected that demand for dollars by companies paying for imports ahead of holiday season would end the Cedi's dominance as world's best performing currency?
Well, good afternoon, good evening to your listeners. I didn't expect the Cedi to be very stable throughout the whole year or stay at the 10.3 or thereabout levels we reach throughout the year. There was always going to be volatility. We know the seasonalities and currency movements in Ghana. We know around this period, and there are two main events. There's cocoa season coming, and with the depreciation of the Cedi, that has impact on the price of cocoa and all that. You could understand some of the argument that say that probably there are some adjustment happening in the lead up to the cocoa, probably unspoken truth. And then, of course, there are also those who are not too sure that the stability that we have has come to stay, and they would want to stock up and buy all their goods ahead of the season. Typically, you tend to see a lot of depreciation. All of these things will be at play. And then, of course, those who were most hit by the Cedi appreciation, those who bought so high at 15, 14, and all of a sudden it fell sharply to about 10, with the price momentum now going, you are either buying more now to dilute your loss, or you are stocking up to sell when it rises. So there is the element of speculation as well. So there is an element of maybe market sentiment. There is an element of speculation in there. All of that play a role. So it would always exaggerate the movement in the exchange rate, and it will not reflect the real fundamental because of these intervening factors, really. But if you ask me, I never really expected stability around the same level. It was always going to move back, and the people who were most hurt would try to trace their path back when the opportunity presents itself. And it looks like this is one of such opportunity for those kinds of people.
Interestingly, the Cedi is said to have weakened by 13% so far this quarter, the biggest decline globally, thereby eroding, its 50% gain in the 3 months through to June. Now, that's serious. Couldn't BOG have done anything about it?
Well, there is only so much BOG can do. What they have done so far is do some interventions on the market to improve liquidity. Can they do more than they are doing? You don't want to fund frivolous demand. I think that is a key principle in FX management. You need to be able to gauge what effective demand is and what is not too effective or quite frivolous. And you don't want to deplete your reserve funding, especially when you don't have bottomless reserves. You don't want to deplete it funding those demands. What you want to do is to manage expectations of the market, use moral suasion and tighten regulations and enforce implementation of regulations. in the market. I think that is really what you want to do under the circumstances, rather than deplete your reserves in the name of trying to support the currency. And I think fundamentally, let's put it right, that fundamentally the Cedi is supported. The fiscal position, the monetary stance, which is still very tight, in fact, overly tight, even given the where inflation is currently. And we are seeing also the growth pulse. We're seeing how inflation has receded sharply. And of course, all the other factors. Externally, we have a current account surplus, and it's likely to close the year in surplus. Offshore investor sentiment are beginning to pick up again. You see offshore investors preparing in anticipation of a new bond issuance and all that. These factors together support continued stability of the cedi. So it couldn't be a fundamental issue. It is a temporal or transitory issue, and these are things you don't want to deplete your reserve on. So I think they are doing what is appropriate in this time, tighten the regulations, ensure market conduct is responsible, and those are the ways we can navigate this phase.
I want your take on this. Some have said the central bank's inability, for example, to supply sufficient foreign currency to the market really contributed to the cedi's current weakness. Do you agree to that?
If you could take that point again, please.
I am saying that some have argued that the central bank's inability to supply sufficient foreign currency to the market really contributed to the current woes of the cedi.
Well, the central bank doesn't have the responsibility to be the sole supplier of FX to the market. If that were the case, it wouldn't have been a flexible market or a demand supply driven market, right? Central banks' job should be to smoothing volatility in FX. So where they feel that there is some surge in demand intraday, and there is some surge in demand, and the liquidity levels in the market at the time would not be able to meet it, and will drive unnecessary depreciation or appreciation to levels that are not warranted, then they intervene with liquidity intervention. And it should be limited at that. It should be market forces of demand supply interplaying. And where are the sources of FX supply? From trade, from remittances, and the many other sources that you could think of from foreign earnings of people resident in Ghana and all of those stuff. So when those factors are not fully at play, then you see the Bank of Ghana intervene in the market. We've seen since the crisis started that the Bank of Ghana has increased its role in smoothing volatility and liquidity intervention on the market, which I think is unsustainable, which the IMF has spoken about greatly. And that is why I'm excited that going forward, they are talking of part of the cocoa proceeds to come from the LBCs who are funding cocoa purchase will be ceded to the local market. And that is why I'm happy again that Bank of Ghana is directing the mining firm to sell their FX directly to the market. It used to be the case in the crisis period. Bank of Ghana took ownership of that and bought the FX from the mining firm directly. And that meant they had to come to market very frequently to bring in liquidity. If these institutions who bring FX are able to sell them directly to the market, it will improve market liquidity, and it wouldn't need Bank of Ghana to intervene very frequently. In fact, that is not desirable. Bank of Ghana should come in only when necessary, not as a daily routine.
And as we seek the Bank of Ghana to intervene in that matter, in a minute, what would you recommend government or the BOG should do in that regard?
Well, assure the market that the data shows and fundamentals show there is a fundamental support for cedi stability. That message should be clear to the markets. They should also try to enforce the market regulations and the rules for operating in the FX market to ensure that people are behaving according to the rules and are not pricing above the limits and all that. I think those are the things they can do in the meantime, and when required, bring in some FX support from reserve to try to smoothing the volatility so that we do not see unnecessary spikes. I think that is what needs to be done until we navigate this period also.
All right.
But I do not see it as a long-term thing.
Great. Thank you so much, Courage Boti. I truly appreciate your time.
Please do well to like, comment, and follow. Put on notification bell so you get all our news one by one. Thanks, my